Neighbor alerts cops on black man, resetting his Wi-Fi only to uncover a startling secret. She called 911 on him for something as innocent as changing his own Wi-Fi password. Sirens sliced through the afternoon, calm, as Detective Navarro and Officer Carter stepped onto his driveway, pointing questions, not guns. He stood there, hands trembling around his phone, convinced he'd done nothing wrong. But when they plugged into his router, the truth hit like a bullet. Someone had been watching every room in the neighborhood through hacked security cameras. And the real danger wasn't outside his door. It was 3 houses down. What happens next will shatter everything you think you know about trust. Stay with us as we peel back every layer of this twisted neighborhood nightmare. Hit that like button if you've ever been judged before. Proven guilty, subscribe now to join the hunt for truth, and drop a comment sharing the wildest assumption you've ever regretted. You're about to witness how one simple call unleashed a web of betrayal and why you can't afford to look away. I'm Malik Thompson, a software engineer who works from home in Crestwood, Missouri, a quiet cul-de-sac where front yards are manicured and waves are polite but rare. Every morning I wake at dawn to the hum of my coffee maker, the only other sound the soft click of my mechanical keyboard as I log into the day's meetings. My house sits 3 doors down from a playground where kids' laughter drifts through my window, but I keep to myself. I've always preferred the glow of my monitors to neighborhood barbecues. By noon, I've already reviewed code-squashed bugs and fed my shy rescue cat, Orion, who likes to curl beside my laptop. My lawn is trimmed, my garbage cans hidden, and my doorbell almost never rings. I don't volunteer for block parties. I don't linger at the mailbox. Most days end without so much as a hello from anyone, exactly how I like it. Across the street lives Emily Parker, our neighborhood's unofficial watch captain. She teaches 2nd grade at Crestwood Elementary. She knows every family's schedule, every new car's make, and every dog's name. On Mondays, she choreographs carpool like clockwork. On Tuesdays, she circles suspect mail carriers. I've seen her clipboards. She means well, she just watches everyone a little too closely. Late Thursday afternoon, I noticed my Zoom calls stuttering, streaming, buffering, Orion hissing at the Wi-Fi signal. I opened my router settings to find a device named Crestwood iOS 01 sucked up bandwidth, no phone, no tablet from my household. My pulse quickened. I kicked the phantom device off the network and tapped in a new password. Standing in my driveway under a sky the color of old denim, I hit save and thought that would be the end of it. That's when Emily saw me. From her porch swing, she spotted my hunched shoulders, fingers dancing over my phone. In her mind, a lone black man fiddling with a router in plain view spelled danger. Without a second thought, she dialed 911. Moments later, I heard sirens slicing through the afternoon calm. 2 squad cars screeched to a halt. Detective Navarro stepped out, broad-shouldered and unsmiling eyes cutting toward me. Officer Carter followed, her posture sharp, her gaze wary. My heart slipped into my throat. I'd never been handcuffed, never been under a microscope. I was just changing my own Wi-Fi password. From Emily's porch, I could see her throat moving as she described me. He's out there messing with something. I don't know what, but it looks off. Her voice cracked with certainty. She'd already judged me. The dispatcher asked questions I couldn't answer. No evidence, only suspicion. Navarro called out, "Sir, explain what you're doing." My voice shook, despite my best restraint. "I live here. I'm changing my Wi-Fi password. Someone was on my network without permission." He and Carter exchanged a look, skepticism etched on their faces. "Mind if we take a quick look at your router settings?" Navarro asked. I unlocked my phone, hands clammy, and pulled up the device list. There it was again. Crestwood ISO 01, blinking like a scarlet letter. My chest knotted. Whatever this was, it wasn't random. Emily's earlier smirk faded as she realized nothing matched her fear. It was my network, my home. But beneath that calm exterior, something darker lurked. That innocuous device name hid a digital spiderweb that had crept into every house on the block. I glanced at Emily, her lips trembling now, and felt the first sting of betrayal. She'd called the cops on me when the true threat wasn't me at all. In the next few minutes, Navarro and Carter would pull me inside, see the logs streaming live feeds from cameras in my living room, and eventually theirs. But right then, as the afternoon sun slanted across my driveway, I realized that in Crestwood, trust was as fragile as an unencrypted password, and someone had been watching more than just my Wi-Fi. The front door clicked shut behind us, and I led Detective Navarro and Officer Carter into the living room, my chest tightening as each step felt heavier than the last. The sunlight that had danced across the hardwood floor a moment ago now seemed harsh, exposing every speck of dust. Navarro's eyes flicked to the router on the shelf as I booted up my laptop and mirrored the network settings onto the screen. Crestwood, ISO I. Carter murmured, leaning in so close I could feel her breath. Her voice was low, but it carried a brittle edge. Still connected. And look at these logs, constant traffic for hours. I swallowed my throat, going dry. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, hesitating as I opened the activity records. The scrolling text revealed IP addresses, timestamps, then a folder called Cameras Misjudged Dump. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Officer, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. This isn't just bandwidth theft. Someone's been accessing our security cameras. Carter's eyes widened. Show us. With a reluctant click, I loaded a live feed, a grainy gray image of my hallway, the worn rug rippling like heat waves. My pulse hammered against my ribs. Behind the camera, Orion the cat padded by, oblivious. The screen flickered as the feed switched to another my kitchen, empty cups on the counter. Then another my bedroom, the curtains drawn sunlight pooling on the floor. Navarro's jaw tensed. Who would do this? Before I could answer, Carter pointed at the screen. That last feed? Is that Mrs. Parker's living room? The camera panned to show a floral couch and a framed watercolor of children playing, details I recognized from Emily's porch. My heart lurched. Yeah, that's her house. Outside, Emily's silhouette pressed against the window blinds. I could almost see her trembling, the weight of her earlier accusation settling like lead in her chest. Navarro straightened. We need to trace where this data is being sent. I clicked to open the metadata panel, IP destination port numbers, packet sizes. My palms slick with sweat. I cross-referenced the timestamps against the signal strength logs from my router. That address, I said, voice cracking. It's coming from just down the street, number 23. Carter pulled out her phone and typed rapidly. 23. That's the Parkers' guest house. Emily's nephew, Daniel. He moved in a few months ago while he's at the state university. Emily's shoulders sagged. Her face went ashen. No, she whispered. It can't be him. Navarro exchanged a look with Carter, then spoke into his radio. We need cyber forensics and backup. Possible felony surveillance, multiple residences. The siren outside roared back to life. I felt my vision narrow, the living room walls closing in. All week I'd tinkered with code-debugged software, but never imagined I'd end up here, detained, suspected, betrayed by my own neighbor. A fire stoked inside me, part indignation, part relief. Finally proof that I wasn't the threat. As Carter and Navarro grabbed their jackets, Emily's voice cut through, Detective, please don't blame Malik. Her words broke off when Carter held up a hand. We're not blaming him, ma'am, but we have to follow the evidence. 3 minutes later, I was standing on the sidewalk again as squad cars lined up. Officer Carter guided Emily toward her driveway, while Navarro stayed with me. Stay here, he ordered, but his tone was gentler than before. I nodded, though every instinct told me to chase after them. I watched them disappear down the block, their boots clicking against the pavement. Alone, I opened the laptop one more time. The live feeds blinked my hallway, my bedroom, then Emily's foyer. Each image felt like a violation, a window into my most private moments and hers. My breath came in shallow gasps. The anger I'd held back in the driveway now roared to life, a tidal wave of betrayal and relief and righteous fury. I pictured Daniel hunched over his keyboard, adrenaline propelling him as he trod deeper into criminal territory. What had started as a dare, a test of skill, had metastasized into full-blown invasion of privacy. Each keystroke he made etched another scar in this neighborhood's illusion of safety. In the distance, I heard phones snapping pictures, neighbors gathering on sidewalks. Whispers drifted toward me. "He lives right here." Who would suspect him? I could almost taste the shock and the fear, tangy and bitter. The wind picked up, rattling the leaves along the cul-de-sac. I closed the laptop, stood and shook the numbness from my limbs. My sanctuary, my code-lined fortress had been compromised. But this was bigger than me now. It was about every person who'd ever been judged by a single glance, every privacy shattered with a single click. I squared my shoulders. Whatever happened next, whatever spectacle the Parkers' guest house would become, I wouldn't shrink away. I'd watch from the sidelines, silent witness to the unmasking of the true culprit. The uneasy quiet settled over Crestwood again, but I knew it wouldn't last. Because soon every secret would be out in the open, and no one would look at their neighbor the same way again. Now that we've traced every illicit packet back to Daniel's makeshift hotspot, Malik knew he had more than just evidence, he had leverage. He wasn't content to watch the police cuff Daniel and hope for the best. He wanted the neighborhood, and especially Emily, to feel the full weight of what had been done in their midst. First, Malik reached out to Detective Navarro. He proposed a controlled sting. They'd create a fake network, Crestwood Public, mimicking Daniel's own prank network, and leave it unprotected in Malik's driveway overnight. He would monitor every connection attempt and log each one. Navarro agreed. If Daniel took the bait, they'd have him red-handed, live. That evening, Malik sat at his desk while the sun dipped behind the oak trees, casting long shadows across the cul-de-sac. He configured the decoy network and wrote a small script to capture not only MAC addresses, but also to trigger an alert if any camera streams were requested. His fingers flew across the keyboard, the clack-clack of keys echoing his determination. Outside, Orion watched from the window, unaware his home had become the stage for a digital trap. At midnight, when the neighborhood was silent, Malik received the first ping on his laptop. Device detected B827EB41923C. He recognized Daniel's Raspberry Pi Mac prefix instantly. A chill ran down his spine. Through his custom monitoring dashboard, Malik saw the live feed request pop up. Daniel was logging into Emily's front door camera, then switching to the Parker family's nursery. Malik hit record and muted his microphone, so Daniel wouldn't realize he was being watched. Simultaneously, Navarro and Carter cruised quietly down the street. Their headlights winked on and off in the dark, while Malik texted them the live location data. At 12:17 a.m., Daniel stepped onto Malik's porch, his laptop under one arm, flashlight in hand. He crouched next to the router box, unplugged the decoy network cable, and tried to reconnect, triggering Malik's final alert. Breach confirmed, gateway override initiated. Within seconds, Navarro's voice crackled through Malik's earpiece. "We're rolling in. Do not engage." Malik watched the video feed as silent red and blue lights bounced off the cul-de-sac. Daniel froze, his eyes widening in the glare. He tried to shut his laptop, but Carter and Navarro were already there, guns drawn, but voices calm. Daniel Parker, step away from the equipment. With the trap sprung, Malik moved to Phase 2, the public unmasking. The next morning, he coordinated with Navarro to host an informal community meeting at the local rec center. The entire block was invited. Malik opened with a simple statement. "Last week I was wrongfully accused of hacking, but we uncovered something far worse. Someone in our own neighborhood invaded our homes, our privacy, and our trust." He cued the video. On the big screen, the grainy midnight footage played Daniel's silhouette against the router box, followed by each camera feed Emily's sleeping toddler, Mr. Jenkins watering his prize rose bush at dawn, Mrs. Alvarez in her home office. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Faces went pale. Some neighbors clutched their partners or children. Then Malik paused the playback on Daniel's face, illuminated by laptop glow. This is the person who thought it was a joke, who weaponized curiosity against his friends and neighbors. And this is the price he paid. He clicked forward to footage of Daniel's arrest, the clinching shot of Officer Carr-mounted cameras circling him in handcuffs. The room fell silent. Emily's lips trembled as she looked at the screen, tears pooling in her eyes. Malik swallowed hard, his own throat tight. He could feel the tension ease only slightly. This was more than vindication. It was collective trauma and collective catharsis. Navarro stepped up. Under Missouri Revised Statutes, Section 569.0, 5. Unauthorized computer access and unlawful surveillance carry up to 7 years in prison. Daniel Parker is now facing serious felony charges. He clicked the slide to show the statutory language and sentencing guidelines. Malik raised his hand. I want to close by saying this. Our assumptions almost destroyed an innocent man, me. Let this be the lesson: when fear and bias lead us to judge, we tear the fabric of community. But when we follow evidence, respect privacy, and hold each other accountable, we rebuild stronger. He closed his laptop. Applause broke out, tentative, then growing into sustained claps. Neighbors exchanged looks of shame and relief. Emily stepped forward, placed a sapling from her front yard into Malik's hands. For new beginnings, she whispered. As the meeting disbanded, Malik realized the plan had succeeded beyond proving Daniel's guilt. He'd exposed the hidden rot, forced the community to confront its own biases, and reclaimed his own narrative. The trap had ensnared more than a hacker. It had revealed the power of empathy and the price of jumping to conclusions. And in that moment, the cul-de-sac felt just a little safer for everyone. Malik watched the clock's red digits turn to 11:58 p.m., and his heart pounded against his ribs like a warning drum. He sat alone in the darkened study, the only light coming from his laptop screen where a new Wi-Fi network blinked into existence: Crestwood Public. He typed the final line of code and hit enter. His Python script would capture every MAC address, every port scan, and most importantly, any request to pull camera feeds. He slipped a pair of earbuds into his ears, tuned to a silent channel feeding Navarro's patrol car dashcam, so he could hear their engines as they crept through the neighborhood. At 11:59, the decoy network lit up on his router's dashboard. One dot, then another. Each ping sent a vibration through his chair. He leaned forward, pulse rattling his temples as the first device connected. A familiar MAC prefix B827EB flew onto the log, triggering an alert. Daniel's Raspberry Pi, no doubt. Malik forced his fingers to stay steady and opened the live feed viewer. The screen flickered to life with a grainy shot of Emily's porch light, then snapped to her front door camera. He swallowed, throat tight, as he watched Daniel crouch by the router box, his face half lit by laptop glow. Malik muted the feed, but not before Navarro's calm voice crackled through his earbud. We see him. Moving in. Outside, he heard tires crunch on gravel and saw flash reflections dance across his curtains. Daniel glanced around, oblivious to the red and blue warning blinking on the house across the street. In those moments, time stretched thin, taut as a wire. Ready on your go, Malik whispered, even though no one could hear him. He clicked a final button. A hidden relay cut power to Daniel's access point, triggering a failover alert. The decoy network blinked out, and in that instant Daniel's screen went dark. He cursed under his breath, spun toward the street, and saw the squad car's beams carving arcs into the night. His fingers flew over the keyboard, trying to reconnect, but it was too late. Navarro and Carter stepped out, guns holstered but eyes sharp. Daniel Parker. Navarro called, voice even, hands in the air. Daniel froze, laptop dangling at his side, eyes wild. For a heartbeat, Malik feared he'd flee, but then Daniel raised his hands, trembling. Turn around, Carter ordered. Daniel obeyed, his face ashen beneath the street lamp. Malik watched through the window as Navarro snapped handcuffs onto Daniel's wrists. The weight of the moment pressed against Malik's chest. This was justice finally served, but it felt hollow, too easy. He turned from the window, the script still running on his laptop, logging every second. At 12:15 a.m., Malik shut down the sting operation and eased out onto his front porch. Orion padded alongside his legs, tail flicking. He took a deep breath of the cool night air. 3 houses down, Daniel was being escorted into the back of the squad car. The cruiser engine revved, then sped off, leaving taillights blinking like embers in the distance. Malik stepped back inside and found Navarro waiting by the entryway, coat buttoned against the chill. "Nicely done," Navarro said, extending a gloved hand. Malik shook it, feeling the tension drain slightly from his shoulders. "Couldn't have done it without your logs and your nerve." "Thanks," Malik replied, voice low. "But this isn't over." He led Navarro to his study, where the script had compiled a detailed report, every camera breach, every timestamp, even the duration of each feed. Navarro scrolled through the document, brow furrowed. "We'll file this with the county prosecutor," Navarro said. "He'll see the full scope now." Malik nodded. "But I want everyone in the neighborhood to see it too." Navarro cocked an eyebrow. "You mean a community meeting?" "Yeah," Malik said, determination sharpening his voice. "Transparency is the final step. Next afternoon, the Crestwood Community Center's multipurpose room filled with folding chairs, buzzing whispers, and the hum of a rented projector. Neighbors trickled in, some curious, some tense. Emily stood near the front, arms wrapped around herself, eyes red-rimmed. Malik took a deep breath, stepped onto the small stage, and tapped the microphone. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for coming," he began, voice steady. "Last week I was stalked through my own security cameras, and the person behind it wasn't a stranger. It was Daniel Parker, our neighbor Emily's nephew." A hush fell so deep Malik could hear his own heartbeat. On the screen behind him, the title card glowed, "Invasion Real Footage from Crestwood." He clicked the remote. The video started with a time-stamped sequence, 11:59 p.m., device connected to Crestwood Public, B827EB. The grainy feed rolled, Daniel crouched by the router box, fingers dancing over the keyboard. Gasps echoed through the room. Malik let it play for a few unsettling seconds, then paused it on Daniel's face, illuminated by laptop glow. The man looked smaller, ashamed. Daniel thought it was a joke, Malik's voice continued. A harmless prank. But this script captured every moment he accessed our cameras. Mine, Emily's, Mr. Jenkins's front porch, Mrs. Alvarez's nursery. He hit play again, cycling through quick cuts, a child clutching a teddy bear, an elderly man watering begonias, Emily's illuminated hallway. Each clip lasted barely a beat, but it was enough to ignite a collective shudder. Neighbors exchanged frightened looks, clutching phones to record the footage. As the final clip ended, Malik advanced to the arrest footage, 12:02 a.m. Officer Navarro and Carter detain suspect. The screen showed Daniel's hands rising in surrender as the squad car lights flashed across his face. A murmur rose, then fell silent. Malik dropped his voice to a quiet but firm tone. "This isn't just about breaking the law. It's about trust. We live here. We depend on each other to feel safe. Daniel violated that trust." He let the words hang, scanning the crowd's faces, pale, teary, angry, betrayed. Emily stepped forward, then voice trembling. I was wrong. I judged Malik before knowing anything, and I endangered him." She looked at Malik, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry." Malik felt the tight knot in his chest loosen. He offered her a small nod. "Thank you for admitting it. But apology alone isn't enough. We need to rebuild what was broken." He clicked to the final slide. "Lessons: verify before accusing, protect your privacy, value evidence over fear." Bulleted points appeared beside a simple graphic of a locked padlock and an outstretched hand. Malik continued. "If you ever see something that seems suspicious, ask questions first. Share concerns with each other, not emergency services. And above all, respect privacy, not just your own, but everyone's." A hand shot up in the back row, Mr. Jenkins, white-haired, and stooped. "So what happens next?" he asked. "Will Daniel stay locked up?" Navarro stepped to the podium. He's charged under Missouri law for unauthorized computer access and unlawful surveillance. If convicted, he faces up to 7 years in prison. Rest assured this block will be safe again." The room exhaled collectively. Malik closed the laptop and let the last glimmer of light fade from the screen. Chairs scraped as neighbors rose, some hugging, some lingering to talk in hushed tones. Emily approached him and pressed a small sapling into his hands. "For new beginnings," she whispered. Outside, Orion greeted Malik at his doortail, high and curious. Malik knelt to scratch behind his ears, then stood and looked back at the community center. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft oranges and purples. In that moment, the cul-de-sac felt different. Wounded, yes, but healing. Malik turned the sapling in his hands, then stepped forward toward home, knowing the real work of rebuilding trust had just begun. Malik stepped off the stage as the last echoes of applause faded into an almost sacred silence. In the hush, you could hear the soft catch of breath from neighbors who had just witnessed their own lives exposed. He returned to his front porch, Orion weaving between his legs, and watched as families drifted toward their cars, clutching phones still glowing with the grainy footage they'd just seen. Across the street, Emily stood with her arms crossed over her chest, staring at the ground where the sapling she'd gifted lay in Malik's hands. Her shoulders shook as she swallowed hard tears glinting in the lamplight. "I never imagined I'd be the one to judge so wrong," she whispered, voice barely more than wind through leaves. Malik offered a small nod, but his eyes held something gentler than anger, a quiet understanding that forgiveness was a process, not an instant transaction. Mr. Jenkins, the elderly widower whose garden camera had captured every morning ritual, shuffled up behind them. He placed a gnarled hand on Malik's shoulder. "You saved us," he said, voice trembling. "But it's you who's been wronged." His words hung in the air, a reminder that heroism often comes at the cost of personal peace. In the driveway, Carter and Navarro packed gear into their cruiser. Navarro paused and approached Malik. "Your initiative gave us everything we needed," he said, uncharacteristically soft. "The lead, the sting, the conviction." Malik met his gaze. "We did it together," he replied, the weight of partnership settling between them. Elsewhere, neighbors gathered in small clusters, their conversations low but urgent. 2 women by the streetlight exchanged phone numbers, promising to check in on one another's home security. A young father hugged his toddler tight, as if vowing never to let technology replace human connection. Even the teenage boy who lived next door, once awkward and distant, offered Malik a tentative thumbs up before disappearing into his house. As the crowd thinned, Emily finally spoke again. "Malik, would you forgive me?" Her voice cracked with vulnerability. He turned the sapling in his hand, its roots freshly watered, ready for planting. "I'll help you plant it," he said, surprising both of them. "We'll grow something new here." Relief washed over her face, and she nodded, wiping her cheeks. Malik carried the little tree across the lawn, each step echoing the promise of rebuilding. He knelt beside the rich soil and began to dig Orion, circling curiously. Emily fetched gloves and a trowel, kneeling beside him. Together they unwrapped the sapling, its thin trunk, leaning toward the street that had witnessed so much pain and redemption. As he patted the earth around the roots, Malik reflected on the journey from mistaken suspicion to community reckoning, from private fear to public accountability. He could still feel the residue of betrayal, the way every click and login had felt like a threat to his sanctuary. But now, as the sapling stood upright in its new home, he sensed something stronger taking root, collective trust reborn from the rubble of broken assumptions. In the days that followed, Crestwood's online neighborhood group buzzed with suggestions for stronger passwords, shared security tips, even a volunteer-led workshop on digital privacy. People who once avoided eye contact now greeted each other by name. The barbecues returned, only this time with invitations extended beyond polite nods, real laughter, shared dishes, and stories of resilience. Late one night, Malik found himself back at his router, checking the logs for any stray connections. There were none. He closed the interface, his hands steady, and whispered to Orion, "We're safe now." Orion purred and hopped onto Malik's lap as he leaned back, the porch light casting long shadows across the freshly planted sapling. In its slender silhouette, he saw more than a tree. He saw a testament to what happens when fear is replaced by evidence, suspicion by empathy. And in that quiet moment, as the cool breeze rustled the new leaves, Malik knew the true victory wasn't in catching a hacker. It was in catching a community before it tore itself apart and guiding it back to each other. Here's the voiceover for the final 1-2 minutes. From a single call born of fear to the unraveling of a secret that lurked 3 doors down, our story proves just how fragile trust can be and how powerful accountability is. Malik almost lost everything to a lie until evidence turned the tide, and an entire neighborhood learned the hard way assumptions can be more dangerous than any hacker's code. If this journey taught us anything, it's that we all carry the power to protect or destroy our community with the choices we make. So next time you feel that twinge of doubt or suspicion, pause. Ask questions. Seek proof before making accusations. If you've ever been unfairly judged or made a judgment you regret, drop your story in the comments. Hit subscribe to join us for more real-life tales of justice, betrayal, and redemption. Share this video to remind someone that evidence matters more than fear. And if you think you know your neighbors, think again. Because in the digital age, the greatest threats often hide in plain sight. Don't let assumptions break your world. Stay curious, stay cautious, and stay connected. We'll see you in the next story.